Today we're going to be taking a look at the largest Deepwoken Iceberg. If you like this content, like and subscribe. The Christmas Tree Mantra. This is a skill that was given to the moderators of the game in 2023 Christmas update for Deepwoken. It would spawn in a destroyable tree that regenerated the hunger and thirst of those nearby, similar to a spell from Rogue Lineage. Confirmed Regalias. Archmage gave descriptions on what the other Regalias in the game were. One of these were the one that you could increase the rate at which you got your resonance progression. The other one was where you simply progressed faster. The Freshie Trials. These trials were part of a specific event where a group of Power 1 Freshies had to defeat waves of monsters in a depths trial for rewards. This included monsters that usually weren't seen as corruptible, being corrupted like Bounder or Baby Crabs. Stars Above Blade Between Part 2. This lore book had its second part scrapped before release, which would detail the ending of the book. However, before the Layer 2 update was released, the lore book was data mined, meaning the real ending of the book is out there to this day. Layer 2 Ghost Quest. This quest was bugged for a couple months after Layer 2's release, and once it was discovered, it was finally fixed. This quest would have you meet some sort of ghost black diver that was actually a mirage made by Etheron. Completing or denying this quest gave you 2 knowledge. The Deep Crucible. This was added during a weekly update that gave the hidden village a mini wave defense. This was activated by placing a piece of the Forge of the Sin in an altar. It spawned in various enemies, with each enemy/wave being defeated granting you a chest. New Kaido. Kaido has been known as the buggiest boss in the game since release, and the devs have stated that they wanted to rework it. They had shown a leak for Kaido's rework, showcasing his new and completely different look. Parasol. The Parasol was teased by Ragusa to still be in the game, as he had once asked if people had found it yet. Archmage later clarified that the Parasol was not supposed to be in the game, and that it would eventually come back as a world event. The Parasol was once hinted to be a monster that required cannons to take down. Tuxedo/Mod Drip. Mods in Deepwoken have access to outfits and equipment that your average player does not get to see. One of these being the Tuxedo, which has the exact same stats as the Just Creator armor. The other pieces of equipment include the microwave head and stacks of hats. Dev Guild outfits. Developer guilds have access to unique armor sets that only their guild can use. One example being the Order of Unsung's outfit. Zartania's guild, the Wyvern Brotherhood, were supposed to also get this, but it turned out the outfit was made by AI, delaying their access to their unique outfit. Streamers play Deepwoken. A couple of big name streamers had played Deepwoken, including XQC, IShowSpeed, and Bruce Drop 'em Off. Only one big name content creator actually played the game, that being Power Cynical. Auroran. Auroran is a spec race that was given to Achura, a senior mod for the game. This race is a sub-race of the Gremmer, like Primal Vesperian, with Auroran being able to summon a spirit staircase of some kind. Only Achura and the people she gives permission to can walk on that spirit staircase. Windrunner/Surge Dancer. Windrunner and Surge Dancer were the original names of Jet Striker. Surge Dancer had only lasted a week and came right after Jet Striker, while Windrunner had been its original name for a long time before they decided to rename it, as Ark thought the name would be confusing since it wasn't Gale Breath. Hive Adjudicator. The Hive Adjudicator was an outfit that was made unobtainable, but was still accessible in a few ways, one of which being the Battle Royale game mode where you can find it in an armor chest, and the other was during the Halloween event when you could get it as a reward from the Joy Reward Giver or the Gourd Skipper event. Lightning Event. This was an event that would rain down lightning on the player's boat in the sea. This event was removed early on in verse 2 because it was generally seen as being only an annoyance and did not really fit in with the game at the time. Infamous Baz. This NPC was located in the corner of the Etrian Palace, where he would be seen gritting in the corner. This was an inside joke, and when spoken to would say meow. He was eventually removed. Drakard. Drakard is a race that was only obtainable by either being an active tester for the game or being a moderator for the game. This race gives you an active talent that allows you to passively train your stats over time while very slowly healing and pausing the hunger and thirst bars. Weird Layer 2 door. There was a door in floor 2 of Layer 2 that had seemed to have some secret behind it. It was in New Cursa in one of the buildings. It had unique dialogue that looked to be some sort of secret, and all it said was, "The door remains sealed." Nothing else was known about this door. Metallica event. The Metallica event was an uncanny crossover between Roblox and Metallica promoting their new album, and Deepwoken just happened to be one of the games that this event was taking place in. It had a place called The Pit, where you could earn an unobtainable emote and free potions by talking to an NPC. Sharko Dropkick. The Alpha Sharko has an attack where it sneaks behind you with Tacit and grabs and chomps on you. However, there is a very rare chance that instead of doing that, the Sharko drop kicks you and flings you far away. A unique sound effect is also played. War Master Oath. This oath had been leaked long before verse 2 was released, and was shown to have 2 floating swords. Archmage had said that this oath was still in the works but not actively being worked on by Rag, so maybe a while until we see it. Enchanted Legendary Weapons. Throughout Deepwoken's history, there was many ways to enchant legendary weapons like Hero Blades or the Crit Blade. However, every time this method was only temporary, as there was a patch to automatically remove enchants from legendary weapons after they had dropped Lapis as an update. One Wing Star Kindred. This is a bonus Easter egg that was dropped in a weekly. If you say, "I will never be a memory," as a Star Kindred, it will grant you the ability to have one wing as a Star Kindred. This can be undone by typing out the same phrase again. Old Equalizer. Equalizer was once an anti-air mantra instead of being the counter we know it as today. It was basically just Judgment, but it would activate and complete much faster than Judgment if the target was in the air. It was removed right before Verse 2 was released. Lime's Specs. Limebeard, a builder for the game, has access to several specs on his character. One is a lightning cloak type of mantra that massively increases swing speed and movement speed. Another is a sort of tornado kick move where he shoots a bunch of white tornado kicks. The last is a roar that does massive AoE damage and heals him a lot. Lifeweave enchant. This is an enchant only available to Pheno, where getting hit would have the user of the enchant combo you and deal a ton of damage.
What the hell?
The enchant is reminiscent of the descriptions of what Lifeweave is supposed to look like, hence the name. Scrapped Pheno enchant. There's a list of enchants that never had VFX made for them because they were denied by Archmage from being added to the game. One of these include the Fear enchant, that would have the user walk back away from the user of the enchant and proc the weak block stance. Wydra's Leaf Halo. This Leaf Halo was originally a Green Halo cosmetic spec that was thought to be a Lifeweave spec. In reality, this cosmetic was a Leaf Halo that was related to the user's game that they made, being Amber Leaf. The spec's color was changed from green to brown to stop the confusion from occurring. Metal Gear sound effect. This sound effect sometimes rarely plays when an enemy notices you. The chance of this sound occurring is unknown. Dawnbringer armor. This outfit was removed and a renamed piece of armor that is known as the Hired Mercenary armor. Weirdly enough, if you still have the schematic in your inventory, you can turn it into a blacksmith. It will unfortunately turn to the Hired Mercenary armor though. Auto Repair. Auto Repair was an armor enchant that was removed from the game early in verse 1. This was due to the fact that it did not seem like the best enchant to have, and so it was removed. It was also assumed to have let you regain your armor whenever it procced. Shrine of Dominion. This was a shrine even more powerful than Shrine of Order. It was so powerful in fact that it had to be removed from the game before verse 2 was released. When used, it would reverse the lowest and highest stat that you had on your character. So if you had 100 agility and 1 strength, those would be swapped out and you would now have 100 strength and 1 agility. Par's Glaive. The Glaive was a spec item that was used by the developer Par and now the senior moderator known as Astro. The stats on this weapon are extremely strong, with the scaling being off of Charisma, the swing speed being 0.8, and the damage being that of a heavy weapon. Original Dawnwalker. Dawnwalker once had a talent that allowed it to take no fall damage no matter the distance it fell from. It also was going to have a concept that was similar to Gale's Spectre Path that would allow it to build up a bar of Dawnwalker energy. This would allow you to use the bar to have instant teleport dashes similar to the Dragon Sage from Rogue Lineage. Unfortunately, both of these ideas were scrapped before release. Ironsing Oath. This was a scrapped oath that was turned into an attunement. The oath, however, actually did have a bit of development to it that was still somewhat carried over to the attunement. 2 of the mantras allowed it to push and pull opponents, which was similar to what Ironsing can kind of do now with pulling opponents. Its other mantras were the abilities to burn specific ores like gold or Umbrite for buffs, again similar to what Ironsing has now. Exploiter Dialogue. There is a unique piece of dialogue in the Ignition Union base in Layer 2 that is said to the player if they speak to this NPC without starting the generator and opening the base's door. The text reads like normal until it says, "Wait, how did you even get in here? Huh? I know what you are," alluding to the fact that only an expert would be able to go past the doors without opening the generator. Green Lightning. Green Lightning was a spec mantra that was given usually to the player or developer who had Par's Glaive. This was a recolored lightning assault that was instead a vibrant green and did a lot more damage than the regular lightning assault does. It did not scale off of Thunder Call and worked with damage multipliers. Xerap's Absorption. This was a scrapped enchant that actually was once in the game, just only accessible by Pheno. The original idea was to have it steal other players' enchants and store it in the enchant itself, allowing you to use the ones you steal and store at will. It was unfortunately scrapped for being too powerful. Metal Arm. The Metal Arm is a spec that the Real Punchy, a YouTuber and a moderator, has on his account called the Punching Proverb. It allows him to put a golem-like arm that is a callback to the Metal Arm in Rogue Lineage. This item does not provide any additional stats. Tsunami. The Tsunami was a scrapped event that was once in the testing of Verse 2's overworld. It would summon a mini tidal wave, and if your boat was hit by it, your boat would take loads of damage or immediately sink. It was removed likely for being too annoying. Layer -2. This is a weird area that is outside Floor 2's map. You can go to layer -2 by using the illusory counter on the ice spikes that are shot in floor 2. This will teleport you to a weird out of bounds area where parts of floor 1's maps are floating around. Unfortunately, nothing else is here. Original Entropy Link. Originally, Link Strider's Entropy Link teleport ability was not part of the Oath. It was originally something that any player could get. By sacrificing 30% of the player's total max health, you had the ability to teleport to certain locations in the game. Due to testers, however, this ability was moved to an Oath. Illusion Attunement. Before the game was released, Parad worked on Illusion being an attunement in the game. Back when it was in testing, however, the attunement only had access to Illusory Servant. There was also unique mantra modifiers that were tied to this attunement, one of which being the False Flame Stone. This modifier would make your Illusory Servant deal burn damage, but of course, it was an illusion and actually didn't do anything. Depths Ice Teleporter. This was one of the 2 methods to getting to the depths back in the early days of testing. It required 2 things, the first being a Frost Straw user, and the second was having enough elemental intensity to freeze the depths teleporter. If both of these conditions were met, the teleporter would cast a huge AoE around it, and teleport anyone around it to the depths. The White Owl. This was the original model of the owl we know in the game today. This was scrapped, however, but it was reused for Miserables in floor 2. There was some sort of push by testers to have it introduced again in layer 2 as a separate mob, but it didn't happen. It may, however, come back in the future. Soren Fist Style. This was a special fist style that was only accessible to Raguzer. It had unique stats and animations, but also used the way an evades critical. Not much else is known about it. Destroy Man 3 spec. The original designer of the Destroy Man 3 sticker in the Discord server was given a spec in-game which gave him the original Destroy Man 3 virus face. It is unknown if he has the ability to transfer the disease or has any special powers. The original Arc Order. The original Arc Order had a different look altogether, with it not even being based on fire and lightning. Originally, it was going to be based on shadow and had different particles to reflect that. Rare Missing Ministry quest. The quest was located at the bottom of the Furfire Caves. It was a quest that had you talking to ministry members in relation to the second prophet and chaser. Unfortunately, the quest was removed in testing and not much else is known about it. Guild Hall Basements. Originally, there was a plan to have basements in the guild base that people had access to as a way to expand your base. This idea has been scrapped for now. Erebus Island. This was an island that originally had the Duke Dungeon in the very early days of Deepwoken. It had a giant maze in the middle and was also where the Fire Shark event took place. The Layer 2 Trial. The Layer 2 Trial was a scrap trial that was originally thought to amend the issue of having 15 drowns sending you to Layer 2. The idea was that you would face a Layer 2 monster while having something else on the side attacking or disorienting you. Upon completing the Layer 2 Trial, you would leave the depths and go straight to the overworld. The Midas spec. This spec gave you the ability to turn other people's weapons into gold, increasing their damage for a certain amount of time. However, eventually your weapon would turn into stone, and it was unknown for how long that would last for. This spec was unfortunately removed as the contributor was removed from the game. The Moon's Eye Scalpel. The Moon's Eye Scalpel was a spec weapon that was obtainable for only 1 day in Deepwoken. This was supposed to be a weapon for the actual tester who was Dr. Carrion. It now has a unique description that reads, "Congratulations, you've won this Rifle Spirit lottery." Hollow Purple. This is an ability that was made by Fino, mimicking the Hollow Purple from Jujutsu Kaisen. This gives the user the ability to one-shot a player with a bright purple flash, flashing everyone's screen nearby. Attunement Shields. These were once mantras in the game that would allow you to block certain mantras and M1s by using the mantra. This mantra was considered overpowered, however, and was removed from the game. Moon's Eye Vigor. The Moon's Eye Vigor is thought to be a lost potion that is still uncovered to this day in Deepwoken. This was once hinted at by Dr. Carrion, a player who was known for potion making in Deepwoken and knowing hidden potion recipes in Rogue Lineage. The Tree Haunt. This was another scrap monster that did not make it to the release of the game. It had the body of a hive robot, but instead of the black wires, it had green vines that connected the body and the face of the monster. Archmage has stated that it could potentially make a return though. Flame Primadon. This was the first attuned mob that unfortunately never made it to the game. It was a variant of Primadon that also had fire tornado effects next to the model in the developer place for Deepwoken, and of course, unfortunately never made it to the game. Black People. Black people were once only accessible through a race known as Lightborns. However, recently after the skin tone update, black people were finally added to Deepwoken. That's going to be all for this iceberg. Thank you for being with me here for 1,000 videos. I'll catch you guys later. Peace.